Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast tonight. Tonight, we are with author and TEDx speaker, Punam Saxena. We are so excited to have her here, but before we talk to her, let's check this out.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we are back. All right. Welcome, everybody. We are so glad that you're here. Put down where you're from. I see our viewers popping up here. So share it all out. And Punam, where are you broadcasting from this evening?
From north of Atlanta. So right in the center of the South.
Awesome. How exciting it is for you. Are you getting this storm that I've heard all about or not really? Or
Well, we woke up to 1/4 of an inch of snow, which we thought was really awesome. And then it was gone by 9 a.m. So we got a little bit of it.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. We woke up this morning to 11 inches of snow and a snow day. So it was really great. Awesome time. So Punam. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just said a day off.
That's right. Day off. And boy, did we enjoy it. So as you can see, scrolling down here, I know she's an amazing, amazing woman. She is an author of the book Parent Power. And she just got done speaking with her TEDx talk. I'm talking just a few weeks ago. So she is fresh off the press. She is just rocking and rolling with her message. And so it was really exciting to have all of this timing kind of combined together. And so, Punam, share with us a little bit about this whole journey of how you wrote your book, Parent Power.
So Parent Power was a dream somewhere back 10, 15 years ago. I always wanted to write a book, but I never knew how to start it. I never knew where I wanted to go with it. And when my children headed off to college, I took that 6 months off and just sat back and tried to figure out who I wanted to be, because I had been an educator, I'd been a parent advocate, but I really didn't understand what I had been doing through my work in advocacy. So I took that 6 months off, vowing never to do anything in education again, because I had been there, done that. 6 months later, I am back in education, but I'm coming at it from a different angle. And that's what this book really is a product of, is that parent engagement in schools is vital to our children's success. We are the gatekeepers of our children. We're the experts. We know them. So this book is to help you, and I want to phrase this correctly, is to help you feel normal, because every day we have a challenge. Something goes awry in our normal day, every day. And yet we beat ourselves up because we didn't do it right, or it didn't go our way. So this book really is about normalizing parenthood. So there are a couple of things that I'd like to share with you, April, if you will oblige me.
And sure, absolutely. I'm really excited to hear even more about it. And I apologize if you hear the elephants running across the ceiling, because they are, and it's okay. So we'll just keep plunging forward.
Well, that's what happens in Idaho. You just have elephants running, right?
That's right. That's right. Bring them in.
So there are a couple of things that I want your listeners to realize. That is, the first thing is that you want to be patient with yourself. We are so impatient with ourselves. We think we have to live at a bar that is so unattainable in real life. We live in some dreamland that we're supposed to have all of these tasks done, and we're supposed to look fantastic. That's not going to happen. So just throw that out the window. We need to be patient. We also need to understand that we need grace. We give everybody in the whole world grace. Somebody made a mistake. Oh, it's okay. We'll worry about it tomorrow. The kids fell. It's okay. The kids didn't get their homework done. Okay, it's a lesson for us to teach them. We don't give ourselves grace. Why not? We are in charge of ourselves, and yet we don't allow ourselves to get there. So that's something that I really want everyone to take from this. And the other thing that I want you to realize is whatever your space is, do something physical for yourself, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's standing in place, racing your legs up and down, doing stand in place jumping jacks, do something. Because when we take care of ourselves as parents, we can take care of our children. So this book is to help you feel normal, but it's also to empower you. It also has research in there that corroborates, I couldn't think of that word, corroborates what I'm trying to share with you, so that you also know that it's just not coming out of thin air. And the last part of this book that I believe will help you and I connect is that the end of each chapter is a segment called Punam's Perspective. And it is an anecdote from my own life, which made this chapter important enough for me to write. So I'm putting it all out there for you. You're going to get the good, bad, and the ugly of our household. But they were all teaching moments. And so that's what this entire book is about, April. And I'm very excited about it because I feel like it is, I hope it is conversational, where I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you.
Agreed. I really think that that is a powerful point to have as parents. We need to know we have these people side by side. We feel enough of the pressure, this coming at us or that coming at us. So to have somebody side by side is very, very important. That whole concept of support and advocacy and the normalcy, that's very, I think the embracing of the normal is more aware. Now, how many people are actually doing that? I think it's increasing, but I know for sure the awareness is there. And then it comes up to that brave part of dropping our fear and just embracing what was normal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting concept. I know we have many parents who we serve in different parts of the community and education that have, I would say, we weren't planning on this, or the challenges that are happening with, and then they list everything, right?
Right.
And these stories can really happen like in an IEP meeting. If you don't know what that is, it's for anyone that's in special education. You usually have this individualized education plan, and it's partly where we set goals together, but as a team. And so, Punam, share with us a little bit about maybe an IEP meeting that you had where you guys were ready, you got goals, and you're at the computer. Fire away. We've got our parent here, we've got the whole team surrounding. Share what happened.
So I talk about this in my TED Talk, and I think it's so interesting that you asked this question, because I was sitting in an IEP meeting, and my amazing educational team was sitting at this end of the table. I was at my computer being diligent, and the mother, who had taken 2 buses to get to this meeting, she took time off of her hourly wage job. She's sitting at the other end. And my team is phenomenal. They're going on and on and on, but they're going on and on and on about what this child needs. And as I'm starting to type the goals into the computer, I realized the mom hasn't said a word. It's been 30 minutes. So I asked her, I said, what do you want to see your child accomplish? And she said, you know what? All of this great stuff that you all are talking about is exactly what he needs academically. But me, mom, needs him to have life skills when he graduates so he can be independent when he graduates. That was mind blown. What had we been doing? We are the experts in education, but parents are the expert of their child. And that's the disconnect that we have right now and that I think all of us want to bridge. And so that was one of those moments that I thought, wow, what are we really doing service in the way we should be? And I'm not diminishing my teachers. I love teachers. I think they are the most amazing people on the planet. But parents have a unique perspective, and their goals for their child don't always align with the state mandates.
That's
And
very,
what,
very true.
yeah.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate that. I think what Abby, this question of, the working relationship with those of the actual teacher, all of these kinds of things. How do you do it if you are meeting resistance? Like, what can you do, Punam? What would you give as support and advice for that?
So there are a couple of things, and Abby, I so appreciate you asking this question. There are a couple of things. One is, you try your best to set up a meeting. Obviously, in this time in our history, we're really not able to do a whole lot of one-on-one in person, but you can set up a Zoom meeting and you try and you try. And when that doesn't work, or if that doesn't work, I hate to say it, but you go to the administrator because the administrator is ultimately responsible for the education your child is getting. And the teacher is the deliverer. And so it's okay to go to the administrator and say, I'm having a challenge here. Can we sit down as a team and figure out how we can better communicate? And I think, and the other piece of advice that I will give is you have to keep it as positive as possible. And you have to keep it non-confrontational. And if you approach it from the fact of, or the side of, I'm really struggling here, can you help me? You're probably going to see a little more opportunity for conversation.
That's right. It's really, really important to have that opportunity to be positive. And just in lots of experiences over the 18 years of teaching with special education, I know that many, many parents come in ready. They got the shield up, defense is on. Here we go. And I understand because, in other places, they might not have been heard. They might have been talking and it's just sounded like the Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. Nothing really was happening to connect. And so my favorite thing is everything out on the table. I have my students present first. My students, they deliver the first part of their IEP. They share the goals that they wanted. They have the pictures all set up. They have icons. If they can do a lot of reading, then they have those things up and they're in control of the meeting. Following what they say, then they say, okay, my teacher's going to share more about my goals because I'm tired of standing here.
Right.
I had one student say that. It was cute. But it was just all open. And I try to bring with a team, especially because I'm in the high school setting, this team of voc rehab, some other connections with the community, right? Where that life skill is super critical, where we've got kids reading at a second, third grade level, and we're talking 11th graders. And the goal is not to see if we can get it to a fourth grade reading level. The goal is to see, can they read words like application? Can they read words like interview? Do they understand what's on the resume? Can they write a 3-paragraph story about themselves on a resume? Can they do that? And so those are the kinds of activities that we talk about and discuss. And wow, the doors have opened so much more because I think they can see, I definitely I have my parent hat on and my teacher hat. I kind of swap
Right.
it back and because they need to know same team, same dream. Like we're here really together. And if they don't feel that way at first, we just kind of have a chat. I want to know where is their perspective. It's really important. So it's kind of interesting. We're getting some things up here
Yeah.
from what Abby says. She says real life skills and programs that bridge the gap. That is great. Abby also shares, unfortunately, we've had serious legal situations. Wow, that's really, really challenging when those things come into place. And really, it usually comes down to the plan that was set in place was usually not followed. And that when they don't follow it, there is a time for this, for all lessons to be learned and for improvement to happen on both ends. For
Absolutely.
sure. For sure.
Absolutely. And when we have to remember that the IEP, especially in special education, it is a legally binding document. It is not just people gathering around a table creating goals. They are actually, teachers and administrators are legally bound by that document. And so if they're not receiving the services that are in that document, you do have legal recourse. Now, the school may not be able to provide that. And Abby, I'm just looking in what you're saying, that there are no other schools that have options available for your student. I'm not sure about the community that you live in, but I'm struggling trying to figure out why all of these needs are not being able to be met in some schools somewhere in your community. And April, you are in the classroom day to day. My understanding is the federal guidelines tell you that you have to educate every single student to the best of their capabilities.
Yes, that's the free and public education. That's your FAPE. So, and with the least restrictive environment,
Correct.
if it shows that this is the support for it, well, let's follow through on these types of activities. And I get it. I've been in charter schools. I've been in schools with big money. I'm down a school with just, I would say that's just kind of average, right? In the sense of there's a district, it's only this big, X amount of dollars are coming in. How can we serve and support? And
Right.
so what I look at is, where are their goals? What do they need? How can we as our team give the supports behaviorally, give the supports academically, and what can we do to do better training within our own
Right.
classroom? I
Right.
don't have any control of the outside, but what I have control on is within the classroom. And that is a huge perspective shift. And I love to share this information with my parents. And, usually, not all the time, but usually there's enough support to keep things going. And if there's not, the, I will tell you, we've moved states to find more support for my own children.
Right.
So I know there is no, here's the golden answer. What? No, really, it depends on the teachers, the training, and the support from the admin. And if one of those pieces on the puzzle is not together, it's going to be challenging. Usually, if you can get a teacher to come in and come to the table, that's your biggest win.
Right.
But it doesn't always happen. And I'm really sorry to hear of these challenges, because I've experienced, we had a whole cross country move to a place and to a new place because the needs were not being met. And I couldn't stand the fight and watch the waste of the years on my kids.
Sure.
So Punam, you have raised 4.
I do. I have 4 adult children.
And so now that they've moved on into, out of the, we'll just say the K-12 situation, I'm sure a few are still in college and what have you. What have you noticed now in your reflection back on when this whole advocacy started for yourself? Share a little bit about your story when you were growing up and how the advocacy started for yourself.
So, as you can probably tell, I am a first generation child of immigrant parents from India. My parents came here in the 60s, came to rural Georgia during the time of segregation, and during the time of integration, and people were being bused everywhere. And here we come. People have no idea who we are, where we came from, what tribe we belong to. We were asked so many times what tribe we belong to, that my parents started saying we were Cherokee, which is really scary if you're a little kid going, wait, we're not Cherokee. And so, there was a lot of education that we did in our community, and our community was very kind and open. But there were challenges, as you can imagine. Hindi is my first language, and so I didn't have a great communication skill set, but I did have a very high academic skill set because that's what I could do well. And so I had taken the gifted test in first grade. I didn't make it. Second grade, that's when I took it and I realized that I was not good enough. Now I realize, reflecting back, that the cultural nuances on the test are what held me back because I didn't know all of the colloquialisms and all of the culture. I just knew rote English. So I didn't make it, but it really affected the way I viewed school. I went from this really high achieving, confident kid to being mediocre, didn't care, didn't love school anymore, just cruising by. And then went through the years, and this is second grade, right? So it's kind of traumatic at that point. Went through school, got a degree in psychology, started teaching, and I'm like, wow, there's not one parent who has walked through the door to help me. Special education, I felt like I was a babysitter. And I know, April, you can appreciate the fact that, there's some days you're just caretaking. You're not really able to do much else. And then when I had my own kids, I started to reflect on all of these experiences. And I'm like, I want to be that parent that I didn't have in the classroom and that my parents didn't know that they could be when I was in school. Because when you come from India or, let's face it, Asia, there's a hierarchical system and you don't question authority, and teachers are revered. So my parents didn't question. They assumed that I was being provided all the resources that I should have been. So I started out just volunteering, just volunteering and helping in the school. And it just turned into a relationship with the teachers and the counselors and the media specialists and the art teachers and the front desk personnel and the principal and assistant principal. And it just blossomed into this role where every school we went to, my reputation preceded me. And I was always asked the first year we were in that school to take a leadership position. And then in high school, when my kids were in high school, I was asked to by a school board member to go sit on the calendar committee. And I don't know how many of you guys know that there's actually a committee for this, but there's actually a committee where you go and you sit and you look at the calendar and you figure out where the holidays are and when the data day is and all this stuff. And I realized as the newbie, I didn't say anything the first few minutes, but towards the end, I realized that there's one major shift that we can make in that calendar that would ensure that our high school kids had the most instructional time during finals week so that they could do better, hopefully, on their final exams. So I raised it to the school board members and I said, can we talk about this? And you should have seen the look on their face. They were like, oh my gosh, we never even thought about that. And so this has probably been 10 years. And they're still I can't even say what I want to say. They still implemented the process that they had created when I brought that up. And so it's really, really important to make those changes because even though they're parents, they're not looking at it from a parent lens when they're looking at that calendar committee or the curricula or those holidays or whatever. they're looking at it from their own professional lens. So it's not to discount them at all. It was just a different perspective of a parent going, I think kids need more instructional time. And as a former educator, I could share that in a way that was non-threatening. And so for 10 years, they've implemented and I hope that the students are doing better. So this journey of advocacy has just kind of grown and grown and grown. And like I said, when my kids went off to college, I decided to start a podcast. And then I'm like, I can write a book. So I did that, and April was gracious enough to help me with the launch back, was it May of last year?
Yeah. My goodness. Yes.
God, it's been almost a year. And then I applied to be a TEDx speaker, and the name of my TEDx talk is The Key to Enhancing Student Success. And you're going to have to go to YouTube to watch it. But yeah, it's just this advocacy has really changed the way I personally view the power of the parent, not the power of the teacher, because the teacher has a lot of authority, but most of the time they're looking for input. They're looking for what the child is bringing with them to class. Did they not sleep that night before? Are they hungry? Are they just grouchy? I would always send my children's first grade teachers a text or a phone call or an email and go, listen, I am sending you Oscar the Grouch this morning. Good luck. Because they need to know that. My child's not being defiant. My child's just tired. So those little bits of information really do help the teacher, and it develops compassion and empathy, and it builds a strong relationship.
Agreed. I really appreciate when my parents send me information like that as well. And there's sometimes surprised when how many times maybe during a break where I'll quickly send out a few emails, "Hey, we missed your student this morning. Are they coming in later? Are you at an appointment? How can I help support? Do you
Yeah.
want me to save aside the assignment for today? Wait to have them finish it through the week during the prep time?" I just kind of I want them to know that I know that I know they know, and that how I can know, they can know, that the student can know, and together we can kind of connect to know even more. It was
Absolutely.
really good when I have a parent who says, you know what? Here are things that are happening at home.
Mhm.
Oh, wait. Okay, here are things that are happening at home. And I just needed to know
Yeah.
that if story time from dear old Anna starts spilling out, let her spill. And if you have like, whoa, I'm not sure about that, please email me first and
Right.
I can share what's other things that are going on. Huge clarity right there versus me guessing, like, I don't know, do we need to offer support? Just send the email, and very, very supportive on that. Um,
And I love the fact that Rebecca just said some days you're just putting out fires in special ed. And you know what? That is correct. You are. Some days that's all the children need. They
that's
just
right.
need somebody to know that you're there for them. And the academic piece comes. So, on those tough days, you go, I'm going to love on you today, but tomorrow we've got to hit it hard.
That's
And so
right.
there's a lot of flexibility that we can build in to our education system that I hope that we can do soon because our children need and deserve it.
That's right. Yeah, we have had a loss, which has been really interesting to have seen our COVID loss and what's been going on since then. And it's really interesting to see the teachers that if they say the C word like 2 to 3 times in a conversation, I'm like, "Oh, they're playing victim." Like we can just blame this thing the whole time. Yes, we acknowledge this. What are you doing about it? Versus,
Right.
yep. Okay, great. Now we all have said, yep. What are we doing with it? And I know with our skill loss that we lost, a few of my students, they lost a full grade of
Mhm.
reading. And now we're that 11th grader facing things where we're gaining back the skill of how to read the clock, make sure we know how to do a schedule. Can we keep to
Mhm.
the schedule? Know what we're reading there? And like I said, starting these interview processes, filling out applications, learning how to read things. And for a big bonus during my 7th period hour, I let them listen to audiobooks
Love it.
into these things where they reading abilities, they're not there. But why should they not have the exposure to an amazing book? And so, I mean, and there's so many free things out there. As we start these books, we have now read our 6th book, and it's January. And I've had one student say, it's the first time I actually finished a book. And
Oh,
you're like,
I
you know,
love
and
it.
it's just, it's at the end of the day, because my favorite thing in the world is story. So I'm like, we're gonna put story time in. So during 7th hour, they're worn. They are worn out,
Yeah,
but they're ready to just sit and listen. Their behaviors are usually quieted at the time and they're ready. And wow, 6 books. And we haven't even finished the year yet. So it's been amazing. And just that idea that looking at it from a different perspective and sharing that information with the parents giving feedback in. Is anything perfect? Never.
never.
Never,
No,
and it shouldn't be. Never, and it shouldn't be. It should just be normal. So take, if anything tonight you guys heard is that parenting, she's going to teach you how it's normal
it,
and it's okay.
and I am walking and talking after raising 4 children, and they're 4.5 years apart. So I promise you, it's going to be okay.
That's right. You give us great hope. You give us great hope out there. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Rebecca, for being a part of this and for adding such great comments and
Yes,
questions throughout this. I posted her blog on Monday. It has the link to the TED Talks. We will put that information down here in the comments below so that you can go out there and see it. And thank you so much, Punam. You've been a beautiful, beautiful guest tonight.
thank you.
And we wish you the best, that all the success will keep going forward. And, if you have any kind of more tips that you want to share with us about being an advocate, let us know. If you're like, hey, that's on page 64 in my book, let us know. We'll grab that book and get these things going.
Well,
Thank you
these
so much,
are the
Punam.
book anyway. I'm just going to say
That's right. So, with our last few minutes here, what is your 2-minute speech to the world to be a beacon of light?
my 2-minute pitch is this, that every single one of us has a voice. Every single one of us is strong, and every one of us is confident in something. And we need to take all of those qualities and turn them into our passion and use your passion for good to make a change in the world. If education is your thing, please, your voice is needed. But wherever your passion takes you, follow it. Because at the end of the day, we need to be happy. Doesn't matter what you have, what you don't have. Your happiness transcends over to your children.
Beautifully said. And with that, we'll call it a night. Thank you for being here for the Beacon of Light podcast. We'll see
Thank
y'all.
you.